I want the right to be protected by 10 men,
right.
to study my craft, and to become good at it. And he said, okay, that's what we're going to do.
It seems like such a shame to me in some respects because, we talk a lot in college football about the opportunity that college football provides to a lot of kids from disadvantaged neighborhoods and single-family homes, and that we have a million of these human interest stories about kids who got an opportunity because of football. And then I think about how many more kids might have had an opportunity because they weren't necessarily good enough to play wide receiver or running back at a Florida State or, Alabama or something, but they could have been a kicker or punter, but just no one ever really considered that an option for them. And it seems to me like a valuable skill to have as for a group of people, and certainly not just black kids, but that's, the focus of this story, that there's opportunity there that's not being afforded them.
And you're exactly right. I'll give you a case in point. When I came out of high school, there were several major colleges said, hey, because I was all-American hurdler, said, hey, well, you can run track. And I said, well, what about kicking? I was a place kicker and a punter. Well, that's going to be tough. Maybe you can walk on, you can work at another position. And these were those, being from Florida, so you can imagine what schools those were. They all said the same thing. And I said, forget it. Florida A&M came, coaches came up and said, listen, we definitely want you to run track. You can kick and punt to your heart's content. And if you go to class, you're going to graduate. I said, let's go. Where do I sign? Because, you got tired of hearing the same thing over and over and over because, I just got the alumni to a point where they're going to accept that we're going to have a black quarterback. I certainly can't have a black punter or black kicker.
Yeah.
But you have to remember those were the days, the early days back in the early 70s, where a black quarterback in the SEC or major college football was a rarity. It was an anomaly.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't get me down that path.
Well, this is when I pitched this story to my editors, they were like, you're going to have to be careful with this. And I was like, I know, but I do think it's a story worth kicking the tires on. And then one other thing that I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned sort of the connections that your coaches at A&M had that could kind of help you along a little bit, and it seems to me that that's another big sort of missing resource. It strikes me that you have a lot of people who get into kicking via soccer, but soccer is significantly whiter or Latino for the most part, and then you have it is mind-boggling to me that if you look around college football, there's probably 24 Australian punters now and one black punter, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's because they've set up these schools in Australia where you're giving kids an opportunity. There is a pathway there, and they see other guys doing it, and it makes sense to them. Whereas, in a lot of predominantly black communities, maybe that pathway just isn't there. There's not another example for them to follow.
Well, I wish that I had the resources. I mean, I did camps years and years ago. Reggie Roby would come to my camps, and a lot of different punters and kickers. I wish I had the resources to identify kids who had that ability, who had the ability to take it to the next level. And I would just fund them for a couple of years until they got into the right system, the right situation with the right coaches, because there are tons of kids out there with talents and abilities. And you're right. It costs a ton of money to get to these camps, the Gary Zahner camps, who have relationships in the NFL. I know Oglesby still does his camps, and you'll have some scouts coming around there. But these kids from single-family homes, for the most part, they're just trying to make ends meet. And you say, Mom, I need, $400 or $500 to go to this camp, 2 or 3 camps during the course of a summer. That ain't happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening. And then those same kids, hey man, I got to work. I got to, I got to make ends meet. I got to help around the house. I got to do all these things. So it really makes it difficult. And you're right. You talk about the relationships. I don't know what happened to the kid from Buffalo. I think he got hurt in a game earlier this year. I think he was from Tennessee State, I believe. And there was one other kid that I saw from, I think he was from Sweden with the Ravens. So there were two other punters that punted this preseason, African American kids, although one was from Sweden and the other one was from the States. But there's so many great stories, there's so many great opportunities, there's so many great kids out there who have the ability, who just need the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the insight. It's, it's sort of one of those things that I think if you follow football at all, you've probably thought about it at some point, like, isn't that weird? And I just, having gotten to know Presley a little bit and what an impressive kid he is, I was like, you know what, like, this is a question I don't feel uncomfortable asking him. I'd be interested in his insight, and he was very thoughtful about it. And I thought, well, let's really dig into this and see if we can put something together on it. So I really appreciate the insight from you, and hopefully maybe this story will do pretty well, and some other kids will think about going that route.
Well, let's hope so. Let me know what I can do. I certainly support that without question. And feel free to call me anytime, Dave.
All right. Thanks so much, Greg. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Okay, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Yep, you too. Bye-bye.